Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the British Gaming Podcast for the 4th of July 2015. With me, as always, is Richie.
Hello.
And instead of Terry, we have my American friend Emer Prevost.
What's up, guys?
Who you may also know as Helsing920 on YouTube.
Possibly.
Yeah, you want to do a little plug while you're here?
Well, I guess, yeah, you guys just have to go to my channel, check out everything I got. I review movies, mainly.
And occasionally a comic book.
Occasionally comics, yeah.
Yeah. And we've also got returning special guest Vinny Hill. He liked it that much last time.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, guys.
No problem, no problem. Welcome absolutely anytime. We don't have Terry today because, well, most of us are proper adults with Monday, Friday, 9-5 jobs. He's a man-child adult and has to work weekends on occasion.
Can I just interject here and say that this podcast is getting less and less British every week?
And I would just like to say that I personally do not work a 9-to-5 normal job. I work, nights, so I'm usually working from, say, like 11 p.m. until 7, a.m., so...
But with the time zone difference, while you're doing
for
your 11
you
p.m.
guys,
to
it
7
basically
a.m.
is like 9 to 5 for
Yeah.
you guys.
So you're still
okay.
doing
My
Good enough for us.
I guess that still makes this kind of sort of British. I am still working a British 9 to 5.
Yeah, clearly so.
and Vinny, he might be in Japan on their time zone, but at least he is British, so that kind of overrides it.
And to be fair, my people used to be British until we just said screw it and booted you out of our country.
That's what today is all about.
Yes.
Yes, happy 4th of July. How's that working out for you, by the way?
Pretty good, man. Our freedoms are still here. It's just, well, some people are really fucking whiny about it. It's kind of annoying. Anyway, moving on.
Yes. So we've got a couple of things we're looking at today. So first of all, yes, the Arkham trilogy is completed, but we've already seen Warner Brothers bring on other developers with Arkham Origins in the past. Could they potentially go down the Assassin's Creed annualized entry with different developers kind of deal? We found out that Shenmue 3 actually needs considerably more than the 2 million we were originally told about if they want to make the game they envisioned. The PlayStation Plus version of DriveClub is finally out, and then there's a bit of a plug for something new we're doing on the channel, and I now sound like a newscaster.
Just slightly, yes.
Not a convincing one, though.
Thanks for that. That's great. So, out of our intercontinental, worldwide, expanded panel, who wants to go first? Pick a topic, any topic, out of, naturally, the ones mentioned.
Well, I know nothing about the Arkham stuff, so I can't lead with that, I'm afraid.
And I also am not a fan of the Arkham series in general. It would be best for me to kick off with that one.
Sam, why don't you take it away?
I will take it away then. So, essentially, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight forms Rocksteady's trilogy of games. Arkham Origins was made by a different developer, as we know.
Who made the DS game, that Blackgate?
Oh, Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate. I have no idea, but...
Or Arkham City Blackgate, or whatever the heck it was. Yeah, Blackgate spin-off.
I don't know, I just remember, buying it excitedly, being like, yeah, I can play Arkham on my Vita on the go, and it was terrible.
Blackgate was developed
by... You used to own a Vita.
Armature Studios, so there we go. Thanks for
okay.
Yeah, the game was terrible either way, so whenever a discussion about Arkham comes up, it just wants to go.
The thing also was on the DS, but apparently nobody liked it on the DS, so...
Yeah, our local supermarket is still trying to get rid of 3DS copies of that game for £5 each. It's in the bargain bin.
Wow.
Yeah, not good for a Batman game. So essentially we've got two games that weren't developed by Rocksteady. Now, Rocksteady always said they intended Arkham Knight to be the ending of their franchise, and without spoilers, they pretty much did that. It's quite conclusive. However, it is a bit of a cash cow, and I can see them just turning around and pulling an Assassin's Creed and being like, well, we'll just bring in some other developers, reuse the engine and the assets, and we'll crank one of these out per year regardless of the quality.
And seriously, they actually kind of sort of did that when NX was taking a little bit longer than expected for Arkham Knight, so they basically had somebody else like phone in Arkham Origins, which I actually had a chance to. Oh god, that game was terrible.
I don't know. I think
I found it to be so boring, man. I mean, and boring even by the standards of the previous games, which I thought were kind of dry and slow. It was even worse.
I loved the previous games, however, I agree with you that Origins didn't match up. I think it was a decent game, but it was a terrible Arkham game. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense, dude.
Like, I've heard Vinny say similar things about certain entries in the Assassin's Creed series. He loves the Assassin's Creed series. Certain entries would have been an okay game without the label, but with that label, not so
that
great.
One also is a franchise I've never really been able to get into. However, I'm actually hoping to change that because they recently put Assassin's Creed 4 on Xbox Gold for free. So
it's a very good choice of game.
I downloaded it. It took freaking like 4 hours to download, so it had better be good.
I'm still stuck partway through 3.
It's the best of the series.
We had some of Vinny's guys, actually, not the ones he works with, but obviously their British counterparts, come to Kitacon. Was it 1 year ago or 2 years ago now? And they were doing like a Ubisoft quiz where they'd show part of a poster of a game, and the first person to put their hand up and say the correct game name got to pick a prize from the table, and ended up with an American copy, oddly enough, of Assassin's Creed 4 from that, which I still haven't played because I got up to Revelations, and I just gave up with the series at that point, and I bought 3 because I wanted to finish, Desmond's story, but without finishing Revelations, I won't move on to 3, and I've got no incentive to go back.
That's why I haven't moved on to 4 yet, because I still haven't finished. I'm partway through 3, but it's just a little bit hard to get into. That's the problem.
Well, apparently 4 you can do without doing 3. However,
and I may do that. I may jump ship, no pun intended, straight to 4.
Very nicely done.
Especially since I actually heard from a friend of mine who's a huge fan of the franchise that 3, for whatever reason, you spend the first 6 hours playing as the father of the main character.
Okay.
First 6 hours, dude. It's like,
that's a little long in the tooth. I thought Fallout 3's intro was long, but
oh yeah, like Fallout 3's like whole thing where you are in the vault and growing up. Yeah, that is a little bit lengthy.
Speaking of jumping ship, we were on Batman at some point.
Yes.
So, like, given Arkham Origins wasn't terrible, Rocksteady even referenced it a few times in Arkham Knight, so it's definitely canon. What do you guys think? Do you think they are just going to shaft this out to someone else, or give Rocksteady enough money to come back? Where do you reckon it'll go?
I seriously would kind of like to see what other studios can do with the Batman license. Perhaps, honestly, not as part of the Arkham series proper, but maybe as like a similar, just general Batman game. For instance, prior actually to Arkham becoming a franchise, a different studio was actually given the Batman license. They were going to make a Gotham by Gaslight game.
Oh yeah, I saw some early footage for that.
Oh yeah, and that stuff looked awesome. I would love to see a Gotham by Gaslight game, perhaps maybe using the Arkham engine. We could easily look at all of the alternate versions of Batman that have been around in the past. We could totally see. I would love to see some of those get turned into games. Again, probably though using like similar assets, the engine. And just basically try to broaden this out beyond just the Arkham verse, let's say.
Okay, so try some multiverse takes on the character. Good. Vinny, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I think it really depends on which studio would get it. That's the main thing. Like, if a really bad studio gets it, then obviously the game's going to be bad. So I think fans will be excited depending on which studio actually gets it,
Because
ultimately people do pay with
out.
Yeah, thanks. Well, people pay with their wallets. That's the main thing when it comes to these sort of games. And not to go back too far into Assassin's Creed, but like the reason why Assassin's Creed is still being made is because people keep buying them. Like if they weren't being bought, then they wouldn't make them. DW have only had the Arkham franchise since 2009. I think they got the rights for it. Maybe 2008. I'm not sure. But since then, they're obviously going to cash in as much as they can, but it really depends on how the spin-offs actually sell. That's the thing. I know, like, discounting Asylum, C, and Night, because they're obviously the core done by actual Rocksteady.
Yeah.
But the actual spin-offs, it really depends how they sell, because if they don't sell that well, then DW won't invest much more money in it, from a business perspective anyway.
Arkham Origins did okay.
Yeah.
But sort of a lot of people decided to skip that one because it was a prequel and it wasn't, as far as they were concerned, the real deal.
Yeah.
And Blackgate sold horrendously badly, because of the platforms it was on, to the point that they actually re-released it on PlayStation 3 as a download title, and I think Xbox 360 as well. But B, it got critically panned. Like, nobody liked that game. So some of the merchandise is doing okay, like the action figures, the comic books, and good God, are there a lot of comic books? Emma can back me up.
Yeah, I think that goes without saying that all the merchandise stuff is going to do well. But again, yeah, it really depends on the studio that gets it.
Okay, Richie.
And sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'm sorry, Richie. Go ahead.
All right, cheers. Well, obviously, I don't know much about the Batman games, as we know, having never played one despite owning one. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of going to echo Vinny's point in a way that at the end of the day, video games are just a business, aren't they? So if they can churn it out year after year, like forking it out into different studios to make more money, of course you're going to do it. It makes perfect sense to do it. Whether or not they're good or bad, as long as they're making the money, that's what it's about at the end of the day. Obviously, we like to pretend and think that the people behind making the games want to make good games, but the people at the top don't always agree with that, do they? It's not always what it's about. You've got shareholders. You've got shareholders you have to please at the end of the day, and sometimes you have to do what it takes.
Which is
why it's all down to DW, really. I mean, if Warner Brothers have like any other superhero franchises, do they? What else do they actually own?
Yeah, pretty much. DC and Warner Brothers are pretty much one entity as far as that's concerned. Warner Brothers have all the DC properties.
In that respect, then I'd be more interested as a fan, not as a business side of things, but as a fan, I would definitely like to see them attempt another superhero in the same sort of
perhaps Green Arrow. Perhaps we could maybe see a Green Arrow game in this sort of style.
Anything. They've got rights and they can try anything they want, really.
There are rumors about they were sort of quashed by Sefton Hill, who's pretty much head of Rocksteady, because he said that it would be the hardest video game to make and he's never seen it done right. But when you're playing Arkham Knight, there are lots of billboards for LexCorp. There's a big LexCorp building that's been built on one of the islands. There's an answering machine message for Bruce Wayne from Lex Luthor if you interact with the phone in Wayne Tower. There are tourist posters for Metropolis all over the place. And there's like some interactions with the thugs, like, how when you're sitting on perches and that, you can hear them talking to each other.
And you can listen to them, yeah.
Yeah. They talk about, oh god, imagine if we tried to pull this with the other cape. What, you mean the one from Metropolis? They don't drop his name, but you know exactly who they're talking about.
Though, this right here is going to sound kind of weird. There actually was a Superman game out there. Oh, it showed so much promise, and if they actually would have spent time and taken care of all of the bugs and crap, the game would have been great. And it was the tie-in for that god-awful Superman it was for Superman Returns, and it was the game on the 360. And the way that they played it up is Superman should not have a health bar because Superman cannot be damaged by pretty much anything.
Mm-hmm.
So rather, the city has a health bar, and you're trying to protect the city. So you have to stop, like criminals, robots, other such like enemy forces that might be trying to take over, the city.
That's an interesting way of flipping it on its head.
See, and I played it, and it was really good until you start running into the horrible glitches that then render it almost unplayable. I would love to see if a studio, if given plenty of time, could actually take that kind of game and make it totally work. I'm going to tell you right now, I would buy it right now and play it, because that sounds like it would be a blast.
And on the trust factor, if I trust anyone to do a good job, it's Rocksteady at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I did have another thought about a possible like spin-off game, except this one here is one that I know it would probably not sell, and it would just only appeal to people like me. And it would be a Arkham style game, the engine, all that fun stuff, based on the '60s Batman show, and make it and just seriously make it like as campy as possible for everybody you can possibly get. Which honestly, at this point, boils down to just Adam West and Burt, Ward. You get them to voice Batman and Robin. You get like sound-alikes to voice all of the villains.
Here's
And
the thing: they have been doing stuff with the '60s Batman show.
You actually do
got...
get the skin. Yeah, you actually do get a like '60s Batman skin.
In general, like if we broaden the scope,
look, '66 got a comic.
Yeah, so there's the
really
Batman
good.
66 comic. They've remastered all of the episodes on DVD and Blu-ray, and they've released that.
I have that sitting right here. I'm so happy to own that.
Yeah. So, and like you said, they put the Adam West skin in Arkham Knight. So they're clearly.
Wait, and they also put it in Night, because I know for a fact that they put it in City.
Yeah, it's in Night as well.
It's like you actually could focus on a lot of that stuff too. It's like you actually could make a movie based on like the Tim Burton movies. Try to get in Keaton to voice, Batman. Give it the look of the Burton films. You could do one based on Batman the animated series, especially since they also gave a skin for that one too. I think was that one in City?
You got Batman animated skins, and yeah, it was City. Yeah, it was. That's why they did it.
Yeah, it's again and once more, this here is just a possibility that they could do, just tons of different like spin-offs every year instead of trying to focus on the Arkham story itself. Especially since if you get too many companies working on that every year, then the whole like narrative and the storyline is going to get kind of muddled.
Yeah, exactly like the comics.
Yeah, so spin-offs. So that means that spin-offs and Elseworld style stuff might actually be the way to go.
Maybe. Richie and Vinny made a point earlier about ultimately it comes down to the stakeholders. It is about pleasing them. So
yes,
I think from a business perspective, yes, I agree with Vinny. They'll probably do it. Whether they do it well or not remains to be seen. But this is probably why a lot of people have more faith in crowdfunding as opposed to big budget business, because crowdfunding is meant to be the stakeholders are the fans, so therefore it should be made with those fans in mind. That said,
we segue too.
Good segue.
Very,
I like
good.
that.
I saw the seeds for that growing, as soon as you started saying
it was a fantastic segue until you all started saying.
I'm sorry, dude. It's just
compliments are well deserved.
Yeah, dude. Bravo.
Take the compliment,
anyway.
dude. Take it.
I'll take it. So Shenmue 3, obviously they said 2 million. It got funded for 2 million, and then they sort of went, but to make the Shenmue 3 the way we've always wanted to make it, we actually need 10 million. Now, a lot of people are sort of calling a dick move on that.
Yeah, that's totally a dick move.
Yeah, because the people who've already pledged were like, yay, it's funded, and now that they know, they need 10, they're actually thinking, maybe I need to up my pledge to make sure that I don't get, the Bud Light version of Shenmue 3.
Well, I think people will be happy, really. I mean, obviously, the more hardcore fans probably won't be, but most people will probably be happy just to have a next game in the series more than anything, regardless of if it's not the big overall.
Even honestly, if it still has the same graphical quality of the Xbox copy of Shenmue 2 or the Dreamcast version of Shenmue 1, even if it has graphics that look almost like a decade old, I really think that the fans are still going to be happy with
exactly, it. Yeah, exactly. And it's currently sitting at $4,176,000. I've got it open on my screen right now. And the other thing that obviously they've announced recently along with that is that if you donate $60, there's now going to be a PS4 physical release, which I believe you're happy about, Sam.
I am, but given how the Kickstarter's being conducted and the release date being in 2017, I actually don't want to put any money down until it's out. I can't justify paying what will be the full retail price for that game this far ahead of time. I just... even a pre-order where I don't have to put any money down, I would be iffy on at this point. Mainly because games get delayed and all sorts of things happen. I'm not... No. And plus,
wait a moment. A pre-order where you don't have to put money down? You guys actually have that over there? Like, over here, honestly, you still have to put down like $5 or $10 or something in order to pre-order it. Like, you still have to sort of put down like a little bit of money that says, yes, when it comes out, I'll totally pay for the rest.
Amazon's pre-order scheme, and I don't know why I'm plugging Amazon, because I really don't like their business practices. This is like one of the few good ones they have. If you pre-order something, they don't actually charge you anything until that item ships.
I actually was sort of talking if you actually walk into a store, like if you like walk into like Walmart or GameStop or something, you still have to throw down
whenever
like
I've pre-ordered anything in the past physically, you have to. I've always had to put a little bit down in the past, but I haven't pre-ordered anything in an actual store in a long time. So
Amazon though actually does, and Amazon actually does do the free pre-order thing, and that actually has kind of sort of come back to bite me every so often because the first time I honestly thought that they had charged me the moment I paid for it. I was totally happy with that. And then all of a sudden, when that game came out, all of a sudden there was like $60 magically, missing out of my bank account, and I was like $30 overdrawn. I'm like, what the hell just happened?
See, that's what happens with Kickstarter campaigns as well, because Kickstarter doesn't charge you when you pledge.
Until after the thing's done, yeah.
Yes, that's another thing I'm wary of.
And nowadays, honestly, whenever it comes to Amazon and pre-orders, what I will do is I will purchase a gift card from Amazon. I'll just charge it onto the gift card, so that way then I don't have stuff magically vanishing out of my wallet when say like Troma's when say like Troma's War finally comes out on Blu-ray in August.
Okay, so
that thing's already paid for in full.
Well, like, the reason, like with this one, the other reason I'm not pledging is because of this 10 million rug pull that they've done. Because if you look at like the original Shenmue, that was somewhere in the region of 50 to 70 million to make, and that was in like 1999 money. So obviously that'd be a lot more today. Now, granted, the development tools at the time were a little more primitive, and also granted,
and
the original
also the
Shenmue,
fact that the Dreamcast was kind of a beast to code for. That was
not even that. The original Shenmue was slated as a Sega Saturn game, but it was in development for that damn long that it pulled a Last Guardian and moved up to the next generation console and came out for Dreamcast instead, which meant at that point they had to chuck out a lot of what they had and start over. Even given all of that, 2 million was never going to be enough for a Shenmue.
Well, we all knew that from the start, didn't we?
Yeah, and that prevented me putting my money down.
As soon as the game was announced, like, a lot of developers, me included, like, we looked at it and was like, 2 million, nah, someone else is funding this. And the exact same thing happened with Bloodstained, with Igarashi's from Castlevania.
Well, Igarashi up front said that the Kickstarter is so that he can then go to private investors and say, look, the business is there, people do want this, and use that as evidence to get buy-in from those private investors.
Exactly, but the difference is this time you have to remember that Yu Suzuki might not have had the investors before the Kickstarter happened, and as soon as the Kickstarter went live and it was getting all that positive feedback and it was getting all this money in, then with that was the sort of resume, you could say. He could have gone to investors after that, and for all we know, I'm pretty sure I'll put money down on it actually that Sony are probably funding the project.
I was just about to say, because it was Sony who, during E3, mentioned that during their conference, right? Like, you would think then that Sony's backing it mostly, and that the 2 million was just basically to show that there was fan interest,
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people forget that. I mean, the game isn't going to cost 2 million. It's not even going to cost 10 million. That game is going to cost at least 50, at least. I mean, even with the tools and even with their team, they've still got quite a small team, and a lot of the team members that are working on that game are actually the old team as well, and a lot of them have been in retirement from video games for a very long time. That's another thing. So they're going to be even slower. So it's going to cost even more.
They're going to be all like rusty. They have to learn all the new things.
I don't know. It's not too much.
I think sort of why the thing is slated for 2017. It's
December 2017.
Yeah, the back end of it.
Oh my god!
That's not happening.
It isn't even. It isn't even freaking like quarter. One. No. It's like end of the year, holiday season 2016. And I seriously am kind of sort of shocked that Shenmue 3 was even able to get its 2 million because, you know, and I honestly am not here to knock the franchise because I have never played it. However, though, I just kind of sort of look back on the fact that the first one was. It seriously was supposed to be the game that was going to move Dreamcasts. The Dreamcast didn't really sell.
No, they spent. And I remember reading these statistics because I used to be a Dreamcast fanboy, like get the monthly magazines and everything. And in like their farewell issue, they were talking about, oh, how did it come to this? And they had like 20 or 30 different points that they were touching on. And one of them stated that due to the budget of Shenmue, if every Dreamcast owner had bought 2 copies of the game each, the game would have still made a loss.
Jeez.
And the manufacturing
second
cost.
one. Oh,
sorry, Emma. The manufacturing cost for that game was through the roof as well. You got to remember, this was a 4-disc game. You got 2 dual cases in a cardboard sleeve and 4 physical discs. 3 of the discs playable, and then the 4th disc being Shenmue Passport, which is just a weird. I don't know what to call it. And then the same with Shenmue 2. I mean, that's another 4-disc game, so because they were using their proprietary GD-ROM technology to try and get around, you know, basically copyright infringement. Yeah, basically piracy.
Like DRM stuff, yeah.
Yeah, although people found a way to burn a CD-ROM and make the Dreamcast read it as if it was a GD-ROM. So you've got proprietary technology, very long development cycle, low user base. Yeah, it was just a recipe for disaster. They spent way more than they could ever make back on it.
See, and when the second one... Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
And what
they started that project way before they knew that the Dreamcast wasn't going to do well. That's the thing. Like, you can't... It's hard to say that...
I honestly am not trying to fault them for, you know, the failure of... No, it's just...
Hey, at least they shot for the moon.
You can't blame them for taking
a risk. I mean, how long was Shenmue 1 in development?
1996, 1995, maybe, I think it started development. It was mid-1990s. I remember seeing the videos of the Saturn version, like early alphas and stuff. It's been a damn long
well,
time.
it came out in what, 99, so it had a 4-year development cycle. By that point, the Dreamcast probably wasn't even out yet, so they were probably started on it way before they even knew that
Dreamcast was ahead of the pack. It was sort of, what, 2000, 2001?
Yeah.
Something like
but it was
that.
in its early life when it started development, is my point. But what I'm saying is, like, there's no way they could have predicted that the Dreamcast was going to flop so hard. And it's the same thing that's happening now with, like, if you go and look at the sales of Bayonetta 2, for example, on the Wii U, it's probably not that high, even though the game is great and it would sell well if the console had sold more. But I think that was more of a fault of the actual system rather than the actual game. But the game itself only sold 1.2 million, from what I remember.
But here's the thing. For a third-party Wii U game, that's fantastic.
Yes, that's what I mean. Like, it did very, very well. And I'm pretty sure, like, looking at all this Kickstarter stuff that's going on at the minute, a lot of people will say that, oh, I can't believe that it even started as Kickstarter. Why didn't they just fund it? And then there's other people that say, I can't believe it even went to Kickstarter because, you know, it's so old and all this sort of stuff. And it's a very niche game. But at the same time, that's the point of the Kickstarter, to check all this, to see if it will pass that gate. Because if it didn't, then it's no loss to anyone, you know?
They're trying to avoid the mistakes of the past, essentially.
Exactly, yeah. So it's probably the most clever thing they could have done.
It's always better to play it safe in this day and age, isn't it? Especially with the environment and the economy, etc., etc. Yeah. But we won't go into that.
No. So anyway, back onto my whole point now, you know, and the first game... you know, and like every single person who played it loved it. Unfortunately, it didn't really move a whole lot of copies, mainly because of the system that it was on. Then the second one was put on. It was then put on the Xbox. If I'm not mistaken, it actually was an Xbox launch game.
No,
or close to a launch.
You're in the US, so essentially, you're the one who got stiffed here. Shenmue 1 came out on Dreamcast in all territories. Shenmue 2 came out in Japan, so Vinny's happy. And it came out in Europe, so me and Richie are happy. It wasn't dubbed when it came out in Europe. It was Japanese voice acting with subtitles, which was weird because the first game was dubbed. So even though a fully subtitled version existed, which even has like French and Italian and other language subtitles on there for the rest of Europe, America never got a Dreamcast release of that game, even
Yeah,
though
see,
the
and
dub
then
was
we got
there,
it on
ready
the
to go.
Xbox afterwards. So that's
Yeah, so they re-released it on the Xbox, and they dubbed it for the Xbox, so it had the English voice acting, which in my opinion was worse than the Japanese voice acting.
well, dude. Yeah, I mean, I honestly have seen clips of both the first and second game, man, and that dub is just
Awful.
it really is just funny. It's just so bad it's funny, and that's
It's
what I kind
part
of
of the
like.
charm, though, isn't it? Yeah, it's part of the charm.
Oh
of the
yeah,
game.
I mean, it really does add a mountain of charm to the whole thing. Now,
The Xbox version, I've got both. The Xbox version is inferior in a number of ways. One being the dub, but two being on the Dreamcast version, you can finish Shenmue 1, and you can take that save data with you to Shenmue 2. So you start the game, you already have all of your stats, all of your fighting moves, any of the collectible items you picked up, your money, that kind of thing transfers
the
over.
Xbox version, you're starting from square one, aren't you?
Well, they sort of they beef you up a little bit to try and make up for it, but it's just you basically get the starting gear that you get if you boot up the Dreamcast version of Shenmue 2 without playing Shenmue 1, which puts you at a disadvantage quite
So
considerably.
basically, it basically is kind of sort of like if you fire up say Mass Effect 2 without having played Mass Effect 1.
Yes.
And you don't have all of your stuff, and Mass Effect 2 tries to fix that by going, okay, so we honestly are just going to quiz you. If you had to choose between X or Y, you would do what? And it would try to set up it would then try to build the world for you because they had to do that on the was it on the PlayStation 3 version? Yeah, it was on the PS3 version of Mass Effect 2 because Mass Effect 1 never came out.
Mass Effect 1 was the last of the trilogy to release on PS3.
Yes.
We got 2, we got 3, and then we got 1. Which...
So anyway, back on to my point is the fact that now we honestly never got a copy of Shenmue 2, which obviously I guess because it didn't get a global release that kind of sort of impacted sales. The Xbox copy never really did much over here. It actually just kind of seriously, showed up, and then I don't think that I genuinely think that it sold very, very. I believe it sold next to nothing over here in terms of video game sales.
I bought it without an Xbox. It's weird. That generation, I bought a PS2, but the Oddworld games that were Xbox exclusive, I still bought. Shenmue 2, I still bought.
Oh.
Stranger's Wrath and Munch's Odyssey, yeah.
Loved Stranger's Wrath.
Shenmue 2 I bought just to support it and be like, yes, we want you to continue this. And Jet Set Radio Future I bought. Never had an original Xbox. Just buying games for a system I didn't have.
So anyway, now my point is that at least over here, Shenmue has never really been a huge franchise, and honestly, I'm really happy they were able to make their 2 million, and I'm still kind of surprised because it is such a cult franchise. It's, you know what I mean? It's like
you need to visit Europe sometime.
Oh, dude, trust me, I know,
it's much
because
bigger.
It honestly has probably got a much, much larger base over there than it does here. So I'm not even going to argue that.
Europe loves it. From all the conventions I've been to and that, it's just everyone seems to know who it is. I could cosplay Rio to an American con. Hardly get a look. Obviously before the Shenmue 3 announcement. I have cosplayed Rio to UK cons, and people are just like, yes, I know who that is. That's Rio. That's awesome. People ask you, if you're looking for sailors.
I was just about to say, are they asking if you are looking for sailors?
Yes. But
oh, dude.
That's the ultimate thing, though, right? I mean, Shenmue, even though, regardless of sales and all that sort of stuff, you got to remember the game is a cult classic.
It is.
It shows up on every single top 100 games of all time, and I think that's the main. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It is a great game. It's a critical darling. Reviewers love it, and that's I'm pretty much sure that's where all this has come from. Because about 4 months ago, it was Microsoft. Phil Spencer denied the fact that they were picking up Shenmue. And he said, no, we're not doing anything with Shenmue. And I'm pretty sure at that point, because there was such a massive media uproar about that, I'm pretty sure Sony saw that.
That
like,
right there
hey,
is
we
when
can get in
Sony
on
jumped
this.
at it. Yeah.
Exactly, and
Well, here's
they
one
basically
thing.
they basically had that whole Shenmue thing at their conference for the shock value. They just piled that on top of The Last Guardian, on top of Final Fantasy 7 Remake. There was Shenmue 3, and it was just hit after hit after hit. And I think it was just that extra blow for their conference, really. And that's another reason why they probably had the Kickstarter, just to check on top of all this. So
Sony are in a
just to see
position.
if the
Sorry, Emma.
just basically see. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Sony are basically in the position this generation that Microsoft were in last generation. Last generation, Microsoft just had to sit back and not do whatever Sony were doing. This generation, Sony just have to sit back and not do whatever Microsoft are doing. However, I am curious from, obviously, to talk about bringing your save across from Shenmue 1 to Shenmue 2 and comparing that to Mass Effect. I'm curious if they'll re-release Shenmue 1 and 2 either on a compilation disc or digitally, so that people can build Rio up and then go across to the new game. That would be a pain to program because you'd have to find a way of getting the necessary variables from the old games, extracting
I would
those.
put money on that. And I honestly would put money on them because of how successful the Kickstarter has been. It's at now, what, 4 million?
Yeah.
With it being at 4 million, that shows that people want it, Well,
I
especially now that the physical copy is on there as well, they're actually that you got to ignore that and see it as pre-orders now, because that's pretty much what people are doing.
Yeah.
They're actually pre-ordering the game, and when they start getting all them numbers in, they're going to start looking at that and thinking we could totally re-release 1 and 2, which wouldn't be that hard because the PS4 is technically just a PC in a box. That's all it is. That's why it's so easy to program.
You look at the Dreamcast collection that already came out: Sonic Adventure, Space Channel 5, Crazy Taxi. That was on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, and they had no difficulties emulating Dreamcast games.
Yeah, it would not be. It wouldn't be that difficult to re-release it. All they have to do is obviously talk to Microsoft, who probably still got the rights to Shenmue 2. Maybe, I'm not too sure. So yeah, I mean, if it was a cross-platform release, then yeah, it'd be totally viable, and they would do it. It would sell, and there's people out there that want it, obviously, because of the Kickstarter. So
I've been following a lot of interviews with him. I read a lot of interviews with him. I don't know why. I'm really, really hyped about this game, and I don't know why.
Because you haven't played 1 and 2.
Exactly, yeah. But I read a lot of interviews with him, and it seems like whenever the question of re-releasing 1 and 2 comes up, the question kind of gets dodged, rather than saying flat out no. So it kind of seems like they almost have it in the works, and they don't want to say no, but they don't want to say yes.
Yeah, that pretty much confirms it. I mean, it is tricky. I mean,
what I understand of it is that when Sega handed over the rights to him, they handed over the rights for the franchise, so that would be all of it, not piecemeal. I'm not saying it would be difficult to re-release the games. I'm saying what would be difficult would be getting the data from the save file for the old games, which are written in old code, probably being run on an emulator of some sort, might not even have the source code lying around anywhere anymore, saying, okay, do they have this fighting move, that fighting move, this collectible, that collectible, how much money do they have, that kind of thing, extracting that data and pulling it into Shenmue 3 so that your build of Rio can carry across like your build of Commander Shepard carried across from Mass Effect to Mass Effect.
They'd never
that's
do
what I mean.
That's the thing. They would never do that. My guess, from a sort of publisher standpoint, at Sony, you'd definitely re-release 1 and 2 way before 3 is ever released. So that way people can play through the first and second one, have their save
build up the hype
ready
even
for
more.
the third. Not in a million years will 1 and 2 get released after the third one. That it's just not going to happen.
I'm not talking about doing it after even. I am simply saying, from a programming coding standpoint, finding a way of taking an emulated Dreamcast version of Shenmue 2 that you've re-released, extracting the necessary variables and information from the save data, and then getting Shenmue 3 to read that information so that your stuff can carry across. That's
my point, though. They wouldn't do that. They just wouldn't flat out do that. There's no reason why. I know a lot of people still own their Dreamcast and they own their old Xboxes and stuff, but they're not going to go onto their system, transfer it over to some proprietary...
I'm not talking about transferring it from a Dreamcast or an Xbox. I'm talking about, I go on my PS4, I download a digital copy of Shenmue 2 on my PS4, and I play it through to the end, and I have my save file on my PS4. I just don't see how they're going to get the information from the emulated Dreamcast game running on the PS4, how they're going to pull that information for then your Shenmue 3 game save.
Unless they somehow are able to emulate the gameplay, but are somehow able to run it on a more modern Sony saving system. That's
1000% doable, honestly. What they probably won't really. It won't just be a straight emulator of the Dreamcast or whatever. It won't be like that.
It'll probably be like a high def, like remaster sort of deal.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be a direct port. It would be a port. It wouldn't be an emulated version. It would be a game in itself. It'd be totally doable, man. I wouldn't worry about that. That would be the whole reason of doing it.
And I honestly will say this right now, since I have not had a chance to play Shenmue or Shenmue 2, and Shenmue 3 I'm even kind of curious about. If they honestly were to put the first two on the PS4, if they were to sell maybe, I don't know, like a disc with both games on it or something, that might actually get me to buy a PS4, because that might actually be worth playing.
Well, the Shenmue series... Sorry, the Shenmue series is very, 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 very story heavy, very plot driven, very you have to know what's going on. No one can go into Shenmue 3 blind, and there are a hell of a lot of people, especially in America, who never got the chance to play the first two. So absolutely, they'll do something for those people.
They have to. Yeah, they have to. Yeah.
Well, Richie, you're in England and you're in the same position, and you talk to me about like, I want a Dreamcast and Shenmue 1 and 2, is it worth? I'm like, well, altogether you'll probably spend around 90 between the console and the two games. Now you can't even get Shenmue 1 for 90 thanks to that Kickstarter and the high profile.
Well, the funny thing is, I don't know if you remember, do you remember you actually loaned me your Dreamcast and Shenmue to play it? And I never did.
Christ, yeah.
And I never did. And I'm kicking myself now.
Yeah, you are, because unless you're driving 4.5 hours to come get it...
Richie, dude, you totally want to drive 4.5 hours.
Sam, I'm coming to crash with you for a week.
You know what? That would actually be totally cool. I wouldn't even run it by Joanna. I'd just be like, Richie's here. She'd be like, what?
Sleep in the basement and just play friggin' like Shenmue all day, every day.
Sleep in your little attic, your little man cave.
Yeah, that would be fine by me. There's more than enough room to put an airbed in here.
Airbed?
Well, let's not go down
you
that
want to actually give him a airbed?
Time.
No, dude. You actually, can just give him like a blanket and a pillow and go, here, good enough. Crash away.
Just make him use his coat as a sheet.
There we go. See?
Yeah.
Sleep in the car if I have to. It's warm in there.
But,
or for Shenmue.
Yeah.
Just survive off the heat generated by the Dreamcast while the game's running.
Yeah, I'll sleep
there
on
we
top
go.
of it.
Actually, you would need to bring me a replacement Dreamcast, because my Dreamcast no longer outputs video, and it looks like the power supply unit on it, the internal power supply unit, not the actual cable, is busted because it's failing to provide power to all of the necessary components at the same time, and that's causing the video to cut out, but the disc keeps spinning and the light stays on. And I've tried like 4 different cables. It's definitely not the cable.
Alright, looks like I've got no reason to come and see you then.
Well,
unless
I can pick up a Dreamcast.
Richie, you want to send him a Dreamcast. Especially since you can find Dreamcasts ultra cheap, but those copies of friggin' Shenmue are kind of hard to find.
Yeah, a Dreamcast will run you like 30 to 40.
Even over here, dude, you can buy them for maybe, I think, like $20, $30.
Yeah, just no one has any interest in them, so they go cheap. But obviously,
I thought about picking up one just simply because I haven't played like crazy friggin' Taxi in a dog's age. Or correction, I should say, I haven't played it with the proper soundtrack in a dog's age.
Okay, that's fine. That's fair.
Oh god, that remakes remakes like soundtrack just killed it for me.
So Shenmue 3, naturally, we've waited 14 years for even just the announcement. We've got another 2 years to wait for the game to actually come out. Someone in the UK could actually go from being born to the legal age of consent in the time it's taken between Shenmue 2 and 3, which is a scary thought.
Well, I mean,
and a weird way to think about it as well.
Than
yes, a very weird way to think.
That's where your brain went first.
I was just thinking, like, 16, what happens at 16? You don't even leave UK high school at 16 anymore. They've jacked that up to 18, so I was like, oh, I can't use that. What else can they do at 16?
Wait a second.
No, driving is 17.
Oh, right, okay. My bad.
Yeah,
Okay, so
drinking
hang
is
on
18.
a second. So, what the? Okay, all of this is sounding completely wrong to me, especially since over here you basically are allowed to drive at 15. You have always had to be in high school until you were 18, and you can't drink until you're friggin' 21. You're sitting here and you're throwing out like fantasy numbers, like what the hell?
Yeah,
You English are all messed up. No wonder, honestly, we rose up and kicked you out of our country. No. July 4th, bitches! Woo!
Yeah, freedom. You have to wait longer to do anything.
True, but hey,
well,
silver linings,
Well, from what I've seen of American culture, you have to wait longer to legally do things. It doesn't stop them doing it anyway.
Very true.
Well, true.
So we waited like 14 years for a Shenmue 3 announcement. Something else that recently came out, which admittedly I've only waited about 2 years for, is the PlayStation Plus edition of DriveClub. Now,
Another good segue.
Thank you. So this one has had a bit of a storied history. Originally Drive Pub? That'd be great.
Would that happen?
Great game.
That's a whole different game.
Where you basically, like drive around from bar to bar, and you just get more and more faced as you're going.
I'd totally play that.
I was thinking a pub on wheels.
The World's End meets friggin', like Crazy Taxi. Just,
No. World's End meets Euro Truck Simulator. You're just driving this portable pub around.
Nice.
Anyway.
I think I honestly would probably play that.
I would. That sounds like a really cool little pixel art indie game. Like, I'd totally play that.
But you'd be in the driver cab. You wouldn't be able to see what's going on.
You could always... Oh, well, yeah, dude. The thing is, though, is just simply, though, the fact that you could still hear, like, everything that's going on in the bar. Sharp turn, like, sharp, and you seriously then take, like, a sharp turn, and you just
hear all these glasses. I guess what you do is... You'd, like, buy all these glasses for the pub. You'd take a sharp turn, smash them the first time, and then you'd put in an order for plastic cups, and you'd just lie as you went.
Yes, like Dixie cups. It's like, yeah, well, we don't need glassware, just, Dixie cups, and we're totally good.
Drive Pub, coming 2018, courtesy of us.
Somebody honestly has to code this,
Kickstarter.
and I personally would love to either voice the driver or just a couple of the patrons in the portable bar. That would be so much fun.
Outside of designing a game concept on the fly, Drive Club was originally going to be a PlayStation 4 launch game. Then it wasn't. It came out about a year late, last October. We'd always been promised that it would be a PlayStation Plus title, so we'd be able to download it and play it for free. Then we found out that the PlayStation Plus edition was actually a glorified demo with something like 13 tracks and about 8 cars. Thereabouts, I've not got the figures in front of me. And then the PlayStation Plus edition didn't launch with the main game because they didn't account for how many people would be on the servers at once. So the servers couldn't cope with the people who went out and bought the retail version, so they went, well, we're not adding however many million PlayStation Plus subscribers we've got to that count. It came out really quietly, like Thursday last week, so we got Batman Arkham Knight and DriveClub the same week. Very good week for PlayStation 4 owners. And yeah, I've been playing it. It really is a glorified demo. It's a good game, but it is a driving simulator. Like, I like my racing games like Burnout. You just chuck cars around corners, hit the handbrake, spin round. Nothing like real physics, really arcadey.
Yeah, see, I personally have always loved those sorts of games, dude. Like Burnout, Crazy Taxi, Mario Kart, just anything that just isn't like realistic, racing. I am all for that. Yeah, Gran Turismo and Club Drive, or Drive Club, never been my sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what we could call the Drive Pub, actually. Club Drive, because you're driving a club around. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Then we can also then have some of that like really, really like Euro friggin' like trashy like rave music playing in the background.
Which even Europeans hate.
Anyway. Well, thank Christ for that.
We It is very much a racing simulator game. You've got to maintain a racing line. I suck at those. I keep getting points deducted for vehicle collisions. It's like, he ran into me, as far as I'm concerned. I get on a
It doesn't
corner and I
matter,
just
that I
smash
was
into the
driving on
side
the
of a
wrong
car.
side of the road. He hit me.
Yeah. Well, I'm just smashing into the side of a car that keeps not letting me pass. I'll just smash into the side of it and nudge it over. It'll be like,
Well, that
collision!
also is just your time playing friggin', like Burnout, like trading
Yeah.
paint, trying to knock him into the rail.
So I do that. It's like collision minus 400 points.
I don't think I've played a racing game since like Need for Speed 2.
Wow, really?
It's been that long, yeah.
I remember
By the
you playing
way-
Gran Turismo 2.
Does Euro Truck Simulator count? That you drive
No.
on that? No.
It's
Well,
a
you
driving
drive in it, but it's
simulator,
not
but
exactly a racing game. It's just a
No, I
driving
suppose not. I suppose not.
Yeah. Vinny, what's your racing game experience?
My racing game experience. I played quite a bit of Need for Speed and stuff like that. I am more into the arcadey type of style game, but to be fair to DriveClub developers, they did sort of market this game as a simulator for pretty much the whole of development
They did.
since the announcement. So
Well, it's something
that's
that,
fair.
like, for free, I was going to test out anyway. The
Yeah.
actual main game has gone down to about £9 secondhand for the physical box release. So I was like,
Well, the game was in development, so
yeah.
it's
Well,
expected. I mean, the game got it had a solid sort of review sort of area. I mean, I think it got like 8 out of 10s, which, in this day and age, a lot of people look at that as negative, but it's actually a pretty decent score, to be fair. And
it really
the
is.
PlayStation Plus was free, so I can't really complain about it too much. I mean, if it is lacking or whatever, I mean, I'm not sure of
It's
the
not even
specific...
lacking. It's a decent little driving simulator. It's just not my bag. It's just not my kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. Like, I can't really condemn them on like the amount of content that they put in. I can't really, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm not too sure like how
I
much.
think it was
actually...
misleading because
Yeah, that's what. Like, I mean, how much did they actually specify would be in the PlayStation Plus edition? If they were honest about it from square one, then it's probably not a big of an issue. But
initially, the impression that I was given, and I
right.
know a number of other people who were given the same impression when Sony first announced it as a launch game and said it'd be on PS Plus. No mention of any restrictions on the PS Plus version. It was only later that they went, oh, by the way.
There's multiple things. I mean, if you look at the sort of whole development of the game, like if it was originally just meant to be a PlayStation Plus game, then that would have been fine if development went smoothly. But the fact that the game took an extra 3 years, they probably made quite a big loss on it. So they need to make that money back somehow. And I'm pretty sure that's the reason why this has probably happened. But at the end of the day, like the PlayStation Plus version is just a demo, and that's pretty much how you should treat it. It's free. It's a slice of the game.
Well,
if you enjoy it, then
I'm
you should
going to
probably buy
put
the full one.
free. I'm going to put free in quotation marks because you pay either a monthly or annual subscription fee for the service.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you still
You do have to pay for PlayStation Plus. It's just sort of a bonus.
Yeah. So yeah, actually, nowhere near as much to say on DriveClub as I thought there might potentially be. However, we have been very involved with a different kind of race lately. Myself and Terry from the podcast had a race through Sonic the Hedgehog 1 recently, which is up on the channel right now. You can watch it. It's hilarious. I fail miserably at the game because of nerves and stage fright.
Oh my god, you lost?
Spoilers!
Yeah. I didn't say I lost, I just said I fail miserably. For all you know, Terry could have failed worse than I did. Watch the video to find out. But it is hilarious. Last night we recorded a race through Sonic 2, and that will be going up in the next couple of days. I've just got to get Terry's footage of his run through and then edit it together. The Sonic 2 one, entirely different atmosphere, very, very tense, very to the wire. Like where the first one was, oh god, we're so unprepared, hilarious things are happening. Sonic 2 was very much, I'm not doing that again, it's on, I'm gonna crush you, kind of atmosphere. We've got Richie joining us for Sonic CD, which we'll probably record within the next week or two.
Yeah, that should be fun because as I've said to you before, I've never played past the first couple of levels of Sonic CD, so I'll essentially be going into it blind.
Yeah, that's going to
So
be...
it should be good fun. I have a feeling I'm not going to win.
You may not win. However, if you come second, you're still safe because we do have a forfeit for the loser. So whoever loses has to do a Let's Play of a less than desirable game. So far, there are 2 games for which Let's Plays are due, and I'm not going to say who's due to do which one, because again, that'll give away who won and who lost. Sonic Labyrinth has to be done by the person who lost Sonic 1. And Tails Sky Patrol has to be done by the loser of Sonic 2. Richie is picking the game as the penalty for Sonic CD.
It should be Sonic 4. You should make them play
Oh,
Sonic.
yeah, that would be good, wouldn't it? I'll put it on my list, actually. I've got a couple of things in mind, so that's definitely going on the list.
Do Sonic 4 Episode 1. No!
No,
never finished that. Never finished that game. That was awful.
Well, either that or else you could just really torture and go, yes, you have to play Sonic 06. All of it, all 3 characters.
No, we said anything that's really long in the tooth, like Sonic Heroes, for example. You wouldn't have to do all the teams. If you picked Sonic Heroes, you'd have to specify, like, oh, you have to do Team Amy. Which is probably the worst team you could be given. It's like,
I know it's a forfeit.
I
don't want him to kill himself.
And at that point, then I would have to say Sonic 06 Silver's story, just because I've seen gameplay of Silver's story.
That would be the absolute worst. God. Like, you would not want to lose that race. You'd be like,
I am not going to play as Silver, damn it. I am going to win.
Problem is, though, what then happens if you can't finish the forfeit game because it's so awful and you get glitched somewhere?
I guess that's how the Let's Play ends.
Forfeit game.
That honestly then is how the Let's Play would end, is it glitches, so you then just have to hope and pray that 06 goes...
praying the whole time, wouldn't you?
Come on, please, glitch. Corrupt something.
What's really
if you
interesting...
fail that one, you have to play E.T. on the Atari. On an
oh, God. Dude, that game.
Superman 64.
A quick story. E.T. was actually the second game I ever played when I got my Atari 2600 years and years ago. The first game I played on it was Pac-Man, which, even though a lot of other people like to friggin' bang on about how bad the Pac-Man game is on there, I actually thought it was okay. So
it's
especially classic, man. Like it's never made it old.
2600 Pac-Man, I have heard people just whinge on about 2600 Pac-Man.
It's not the best port of the game.
It's not the best port of Pac-Man, but it is still a fun Pac-Man title.
It was serviceable. We'll put it that way.
Well, see, and plus, I also was 7, and I didn't care. I just wanted a video game system. So I basically was playing Donkey Kong and Pac-Man on my 2600 almost exclusively. And if I had a friend over...
in my head, I'm working out your age in my head just from that comment, right? Atari 2600, 7 at the time, and then just...
Mind you, I got a 2600 because we couldn't afford an NES.
Oh, okay, now I'm knocking a couple of years off.
Yeah, my dad actually had to get it at a yard sale, and it had 15 games with it. So it was I got E.T., Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Combat. I know the feeling.
I usually got my consoles from my parents a couple of years late, and they were usually either hand-me-downs or second-hand consoles. Like my Sega Saturn was Richie's old Sega Saturn when Richie decided to upgrade to a PlayStation.
Indeed.
Yeah. So I know where you're coming from.
My first console ever, which I bought first-hand, was a PS2. Every single one of them before that was second-hand.
Same here. No, wait, correction. Okay, now the first one that I ever bought myself actually was a PS2. The first one, though, that my parents bought new was a Nintendo 64.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
And prior, to that, everything else was always second-hand, so...
Yeah, I think the N64 was our first new one. I remember opening that on one Christmas morning. But either that or it was a boxed second-hand one that no one had ever touched. But we, when we're doing the races, what's very interesting about it is that our connections don't really support share screen. So I can't actually see the other player's screen. and likewise they can't see mine. So all we've got to go on are their audio cues. So you'll be sitting there
as you hear someone go, "Ah, son of a bitch!" Oh, good. Yes, he died.
Yeah, exactly. That sounds handy. I
You
think
can suck on that shit. I'm gone.
But what was really tense, like there are bits in the Sonic 2 one where one of us would get in the lead, and then we'd get up to the boss and we'd be like, okay, are we gonna do the trick shot easy way to beat him, which risks losing a life and having to go back? Or do we play it safe, and have we got enough time to do it slowly and methodically and make sure we don't take a single hit and know that we'll win? But while you're doing that, you can hear the other person like, ah, man, I just did the bit with this, that, and the other, and you know the game well enough that even from the description, you're like, shit, I totally know where they are, and you change your tactics against Robotnik on the fly. You're like, I'm taking risks. It's time. You're going down. Yeah.
There's a lot of that in the first one. I've watched the first one start to finish. I watched all of it, and I obviously haven't seen the second one yet because it's not out yet. But there's a lot of that in the first one, which I was honestly like, I thought I knew Sonic games, but you two were queuing off each other, like saying, "Do you remember this bit? I'm on this bit and this level," and you genuinely knew where he was. It was incredible knowledge.
I haven't played Sonic in maybe 14 years, so yeah, that'd be really interesting to see.
It is very interesting to watch.
You get memories coming back to you as well. Like at one point, I'm talking about the Marble Zone. I'm like, there's a skip here somewhere where you can cut out like half the level, but I can't remember where it is. And then I ended up finding the skip I was talking about, but it was in Act 3, not Act 2. You're just like, oh yeah, there it is.
Also, as well, in the first one, there's a lot of wishing each other dead, I noticed. There's a lot of that.
Well, I mean, when
forward.
you're racing against somebody, it's like, oh God, please die. Just drown, get hit by something. Spikes are always good.
I really hope people didn't skip through the podcast and just like start at that point.
Skip to this bit, yeah.
It's like, what the...
I want you to die.
A lot of wishing each other dead.
We're all secretly Jigsaw. We're all
I
secretly Jigsaw. We just take turns wearing the mask.
Oh yeah, let's play a game.
But one thing that that is missing, and we do need to do, is the question of the week. So Emma, you are uninitiated. Actually, I think you've listened to the previous show, so you know what it is. I'm asking the guys a question. They have not been prepped on the question. They don't know what it's gonna be. So this week, favorite licensed video game.
Oh, that's a good one.
Ooh.
Die Hard Arcade.
Yeah, good shout, right? I can't use that answer now.
Not because it's the best game I've ever played that's licensed by any means, but it holds, obviously for me and you, holds quite a strong nostalgia.
Yes.
So yeah, that's my answer.
All the feels.
Yeah, that's the first time we've done this, and I've been able to answer within like 2 minutes. It usually takes.
You're usually there like 10 minutes later. Like
I'm usually the last one to answer.
I'm thinking about this. GoldenEye. GoldenEye to me still holds a lot.
Very good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
GoldenEye. I swear to God, guys. If I honestly had a 64 and a copy of that game and a couple of friends, we could still spend hours just sitting there, like shooting each other. And the one thing, honestly, that my friends. Oh hell yeah, man! We're talking about the old school.
Yeah.
And it's like, and my friends and I, like my friends used to hate me because we always
you
played with
Oddjob, didn't you?
No. In fact, actually, we had we actually had a house rule against playing as Oddjob because the bullets always flew like clear over his head. No. What I would always do is we always used we always used the proxy mine weapon set because we really liked the way that weapon set was. And I honestly then would just sort of like camp out in a friggin' room and I just line the halls leading in with proxies.
Yeah, sounds
they were good times. I
Wait for them then to come running in, and then it would blow up. Motherfucker, goddamn you! I'm like, hey,
the thing is, if you get like an N64 emulator, most of them have netplay built in now, so even though they're controlling it remotely, they'll still take it as the player 2, player 3, player 4 input. We could totally do.
Oh, we could totally do like a split screen GoldenEye then.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm down for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like I remember a few years ago. Sam might have been there as well. We normally had like LAN parties at our place quite a lot. We had like Halo LAN parties and stuff. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
The Halo 3 nights, they were awesome. But one night we decided to switch to.
Sorry,
We
one
decided
sec.
to switch to Call of Duty 4. I remember because Call of Duty 4 just came out and it was getting really popular and really big, and everyone was all over that game. And I remember like, okay, we're all going to play Call of Duty tonight, and so we set up all the computers, we set up all the screens.
Can I just say, he's saying night. It was never a night. It was always start on Friday evening, finish sometime Monday afternoon.
Yes.
So
we went into Call of Duty. We were looking for the split screen options, and they weren't there. There was no split screen for Call of Duty 4. And I remember it was just this horrible moment that dawned over us. It was like, oh my god, this game doesn't have split screen. What the hell?
It's like the first time you bought Burnout Paradise. Like Burnout Paradise is a go-to split screen game. You get Paradise home, and you're like, where is it? Oh god, where is it?
Yeah, but it was just that moment, like when that actually happened, when you realized there was no split screen. Like it just brought back all them memories of playing Halo on split screen, like GoldenEye on split screen, like just them punching each other on the sofa because they just got a headshot on you or whatever. Like that is just completely lost now, and that culture sort of faded away.
Oh, you don't get that through the internet, no.
Yeah, and it's just it's too.
Actually, now there actually is a game on Steam that I have heard about, which actually has brought back split screen, and it is a game called Screen Cheat, and it basically is where
awesome.
I still honestly have not had a chance to play it. I would love to, and it's just basically because the only way to actually find your opponents and kill them is to basically try to figure out where in the hell they are, because every player is completely friggin' invisible. So you're basically sitting there like running around and you're trying to find them, and then you just shoot and kill them. Scream at each other the whole time. That sounds amazing.
It's funny you should bring this game up, actually, because I was genuinely looking at this, because I got an email from the Humble Bundle website saying that they've got a sale going on today. And one of the games that I instantly went to was Screen Cheat, and it's actually only, I don't know how would it be in dollars, but it's only £5 on there at the moment on sale.
That's probably like, let me think, about five, see, now like
about $7.50.
About $7.50,
about
$7.50 or $8. Right, I'm gonna see this.
I was very tempted to pick up. I'm on the borderline at the moment. I'm on the fence.
Vinny, by the way, favorite franchise video game based on a license?
Oh yeah, of course. I would have to go with the Battle for Middle Earth.
Oh, not bad.
Battle for Middle Earth, one of the best RTSs I've ever played. It introduced a lot of new mechanics to that genre before that genre sort of faded out, and just having like cavalry and stuff like that, which can actually ride over like foot units. That was insane to me. Like I'd never seen that before. I'm a huge Ringer. Like I'm a massive Lord of the Rings fan, so. Yeah, that game just spoke volumes to me. That's probably one of my favorite. But a good shout out as well to a close second place would have to be Toy Story 2 on the PlayStation 1, because that fucking game was awesome.
I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna go one step above that and say Toy Story 1 on the original Mega Drive.
Oh god, yeah, I can see that on my shelf right here.
That is a good game.
Nightmare Buzz. Weird boss battle.
I know.
Yeah.
My favourite level to this day is still the one where you dress up as the soda cup and the chip packet or whatever it is.
Oh, when you're in Pizza Planet.
Yeah, and you have to walk along. And you have to duck down every time a human walks past. Oh, good times.
I might give that a play later
Bug's
today.
Life. Bug's Life is also a great one.
Yes, also a classic, yeah.
Collecting all the letters of Flick, putting the seeds in the ground for the mushrooms.
To this day, I still hate that level where you have to ride the dandelion through the caverns.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, man. I bought it again on the PS3 about a year ago, and I played all the way through it, and it was the most horrible video game I've ever played. Like nostalgia did that game very well, but I played all the way through the end, and yeah, don't go back. Keep it in your memory.
Towards the end, it's hard as dicks towards the end. It really is.
It is.
I'm torn between three games. Batman: Arkham Asylum. I think everyone was expecting that to be in there somewhere.
Cop out.
Well, we have been very Batman-y today. The other one I'm torn between World of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck
good game,
on the Mega Drive. Oh, fantastic game. And you've also got, in the same vein, platformer Tiny Toon Adventures, Buster's Hidden Treasure on the Mega Drive.
Don't think I played that one.
Oh, okay, fair enough. And there was another one which has entirely slipped my mind, so it couldn't have been that good.
One other thing I guess I can sort of throw in here as kind of sort of like a second, and it's serious though, is because it's not a single licensed property. It's actually like a franchise made up of like two. Well,
Oh,
of
sorry, Emma. It's just popped back in my head. Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 on the PlayStation 2. Continue.
See, now, like, one other thing I would totally throw in there is every single one of the Lego tie-in games, like Lego Batman, Lego Marvel Superheroes, Lego Star Wars, Lego Pirates of the Caribbean, Lego Hobbit, those things are a ton of fun. I love those.
Oh, yeah.
And those are games that I can actually play. My daughter, who's about to turn 3, she can actually sort of play a Lego game with me.
Well, they're not too serious, are they? Thankfully.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
they're all very tongue-in-cheek, which is fantastic, because they make it accessible to everyone, as you say.
We
played
thing.
They
are
just pure fun. They're just pure fun. That's what's good about them. They don't take it too seriously. It's all parody. It's just pure fun. It's awesome.
Although it lost something when they added the voice acting.
Yeah, that much I will totally say.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that.
It was just so much more fun when everything was done in pantomime, and you got to see them try to tell the story of Star Wars with absolutely no dialogue, and they honestly do an amazing job. I am gonna say that.
Yeah, I think the first one that they added voices to is actually the Lord of the Rings one, which I was I don't know, I was a bit torn about that because I'm such a huge Lord of the Rings fan.
I think it actually was either the Lord of the Rings one or Batman 2. I don't remember which one of those dropped first.
I was thinking it was Lego Batman 2, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, it was around that time though, either way. But yeah, I remember it's like, oh, it's got voices, and I don't know if I want to play that now. But I've been playing it recently, and it doesn't actually like affect it too much, so it's alright.
The thing is, people talk about it almost the same way they talk about it with Final Fantasy. 10 got announced. Oh, there are voices in 10. Oh, I'm not too sure.
Yeah. A similar thing is happening right now, actually. This is another subject, is with Fallout 4. I mean, as soon as the voice actor started speaking in the game, everyone was like, oh, no, I don't like that. I don't like that. And it's just like, why? Like, it's 2015. Like, come on. All the other characters are talking to this.
We kind of have to be able to evolve a little bit here. It's like,
but it's like if Link started talking. How long has Link been mute,
Okay, first of all, Link honestly has never been mute, especially since is still totally talk, no matter how you want to play it.
This is true. This is very true. I don't know. I think
good impression as well. Good impression.
Oh, thank you. I seriously had no idea
You've practiced that.
Honestly, dude, no, I haven't.
I don't know. I remember I was one of them people when Final Fantasy X first came out. I was like, no, it's got voices, no. Because I'm a huge 9 fan, so going from 9 to 10...
Yours wasn't the voices. I remember you ranting and raving about the lack of a world map. That got you
There's a lot of problems with 10, but ultimately its story did drive it through. Like, it is a good game, and it is one of the better Final Fantasies, but it's... I don't know. There's still too many changes for me. But I remember the voice thing really tripped me up. But the lack of a world map, that was the ultimate death of Final Fantasy for me.
Well, what's weird about 10 is it introduced the voice acting, so, like, it used to be you'd go to conventions and people would just pronounce things however the bloody hell they wanted. Case in point, on the PlayStation Access channel, they were talking about top 10 PlayStation 4 exclusives, which I need to send on to you, Richie, because we're still trying to convince you to go PS4.
Actually watched that today.
You're swaying me, I must admit, so that might tip me over.
Yeah, I'll send it on. But they were talking about PlayStation 4 exclusives, and they got to Shenmue 3. Bear in mind, Shenmue 1 and 2 had voice acting in, and they still called him Ryo instead of Rio.
Oh,
I was like, so creepy.
It's weird for me because I live in Japan, and I know exactly how all these mispronounced names are pronounced. So some of them are okay. Like, some of them I can get over. Like Tidus. Like, I totally...
Here's the thing, in the voice acting in various games, it's been both. Yeah. I think it's Dissidia that disagrees with everything else, but one of the games is Tidus and the others are Tidus, or the other way around, but...
Yeah, it's that sort of thing. I mean, some of them don't bother me, but there's a one, like, Rio is like, oh, that's like the biggest one for me. Like, it tries around the bend.
It's like Ryu in Street Fighter.
Yeah.
How many Ryus get thrown around? There are even like Street Fighter movies where it's dubbed and they've said Ryu instead of Ryu. You know,
it's a funny one. I mean, I can't expect everyone to know the actual pronunciations. Like, so I totally get it. But yeah, there are just a couple of them hit me in the heart. You know?
Final Fantasy IX. Zidane, Zidane, Zidane,
Oh.
Zidane.
See, that's 9 is an awkward one because there's some really European names in there, and it depends like how Steiner is a German name. You know, it's these sort of things. Like I don't actually know how
anyone who ever says Steiner is wrong.
Yeah. Oh.
Anyone who says Steiner just sort of makes me cringe. But then again, that honestly is because I have been a wrestling fan for years. I know all about the Steiners.
It's like people getting Beatrix wrong. Beatrix. No, it's not Beatrix. It's Beatrix.
The only time that it is Beatrix is if we're talking about Kill Bill. All right, let's just make that point clear here.
I mean, I've always had this problem. I mean, like since the beginning of time, pretty much for me. Like my favorite game gets mispronounced every single day. Like no matter when I bring it up, people are like, "Is it Eco or Ico? ICO?" Like, oh my god, it's Eco. It's Eco. I-E-E. Like,
I'll tell you.
Are you sure?
Because
I honestly have only heard it pronounced as I've only heard it pronounced as Ico and ICO.
Yeah, exactly. This the ongoing problem. I mean,
even the team themselves.
I've listened to a lot of interviews with the lead director, and I've even spoken to the director before. It's like he does pronounce it Eco because it's based off the Japanese number one. And number one in Japanese is ichi, and so it's Eco, so it's one thing. It literally means the one. And then the second one was named Nico, which is Ni is number 2 in Japanese, so it's like the second one. And then the third one was Trico, which is obviously tri is 3. So it's he's always done that, but like I totally understand when people don't like know the real pronunciations. I don't expect everyone to know, of course. It's just it's tough when it's your favorite game. Like there's this thing inside you. It's like no.
I will shoot you down with cannons of missiles.
It's kind of like if everyone came up to you, Sam, and said, have you ever played that Sonic game? It's kind of like
Sonic. Oh hell yeah, dude, man! Like Sonic is awesome, you know, with teals and nookles.
Sonic
nookles.
Knuckles.
Yeah, Knuckles. That was always the one, wasn't it? Knuckles.
Knuckles.
Oh dear. It's like the old Dennis the Menace comics. Ganasha.
Ganasha, yeah.
But then Spyro.
Oh wait, yeah.
Spyro flipped that. Usually the G would be silent, but they actually went with Ganasty Ganork.
I think that was a bit of a play
that was
more than anything, wasn't it?
That was a play on words.
Hence, they flipped it. Yeah. But no, it would be interesting. Like we always ask the audience questions, and they never answer them. Well, 2 people answer them. But
are there any loyal fans, and we love them.
Yeah. Are there any particular video game names, terms, etc. that are commonly mispronounced that annoy you? And on the flip side, question of the week. I quite enjoy doing that. I think these guys do too. I would like to actually grab an additional question or 2 from the comments for future podcasts so that we can throw them in. Given the relatively low viewership and the relatively low number of comments, if you ask a question right now, then it's far more likely to be featured than it would be if we eventually got popular. So now's the time to get them in.
Not if, Sam, when.
Yeah, I was just about to say,
Optimist.
dude, like, you have to think positively, man. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. When
we need that breakthrough moment.
You know, the hottest shit out there. It's like, you know, it's not a matter of if, it's when.
It's only a matter of time.
So, yeah. But the short message is, submit your questions. I don't think there's anything any of us are really opposed to asking. I'm going to put out there now, what do I actually do as a day job? I'm not allowed to tell you. Second of all, just be aware of the appropriateness of questions. Like, I put up an Arkham Knight unboxing video for the limited edition of the game, and by the look of his profile, he's from Germany, but some guy asks on there, it was along the lines of, how did you afford this? Aren't you supposed to be broke? I'm like, I tried to answer that as diplomatically as possible, but I was like, A, where are you getting that from? And B, whose business is it other than mine?
True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
I still get hate mail for the whole Assassin's Creed thing, like pretty much on a daily basis. Like I go and look at the comments on it and stuff, and people are always like, "Oh my god, you work for Ubisoft now? You're the enemy." It's like really, that's what you're gonna say to me.
You are going to raise a stink because he's the animator. Ooh. He isn't the one who's writing these questionable stories or putting in or putting in the mountain of glitches that were in friggin' Unity. No. But yet, you're gonna dump on him. Good job.
Yeah, it happens a lot. It really does. It's weird.
Think of it
people
this way, people. We got
know.
one of our own on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I'm working on South Park. I'm not working on anything Assassin's Creed.
Okay. But I think it's also partly jealousy as well. Like, he's
yeah,
working
that's what
for
I was
them and I'm
say,
not. Yeah. So I wouldn't worry about it. But yeah, submit
No,
your questions.
I find it quite humorous at times. Like I don't take it personally whatsoever.
Yeah, you have to be humble about it.
You can't do it in this industry. Like if I listen to every single comment and if every studio listened to every comment, we'd never get games finished.
True.
True.
So
I mean, you
that's
honestly, and you seriously just have to look as far as Phil, Fish, who gave up everything because people were being mean on Twitter. So
Yeah,
that wasn't too big a loss. Phil Fish wasn't the greatest guy to begin with.
Well, true, but still, I mean, it's like so many people wanted to see Fez too, and Phil Fish just became such a, he just simply became just such a, knob end that I absolutely refuse to even play Fez.
yeah,
fair enough.
No,
but Vinny, how do you want to tackle it? Because you've said before that you'd like to be a returning guest. Are you happy for people to submit questions directed at you? Bearing in mind we can't guarantee.
Of course. I mean, you've just got to remember that I am under NDA. Like, pretty much the only thing I can talk about is what you've seen at E3. So anything that is to do with South Park or any unannounced games I'm working on, I obviously won't be able to talk about. And if you ask me anything specific about South Park, then I'm going to be like, I can't say anything because I might get fired.
Don't ask him about his job, basically. that's
yeah,
I
like my job. I like going
the
to work
thing.
to draw pictures, as ridiculous as it might be.
Yeah.
So
short version, don't ask me about my job. Don't ask Vinny about his job.
And please don't ask me about mine because it's kind of sort of irritating when I hear questions about what it's like to work in a friggin' casino. It's really not that much fun.
I bet it's awesome.
Hey!
Don't ask anyone about their finances. I mean, that should just be common sense, but don't ask people about their finances, for Christ's sake.
But honestly, though, now speaking though of finances, I actually am purchasing a copy of Screen Cheat from Humble right now because it's 7.49. I'm not about to pass on that.
Hey, we were right.
Yeah, you're a cent off.
Well,
good
I mean, like, you know what though? I honestly always go like 7.49. Screw it, it's fucking 7.50.
Yeah.
You always round up.
Yeah.
But I think that about wraps us for the podcast this week, though, guys. We actually covered a fair bit for once, and amazingly enough, we set out a schedule of topics and stuck to it, which I think is a first. I honestly do. And it also shows Terry's influence on us because nobody mentioned any porn. Yeah,
you just did.
Well, had I honestly have known, I mean, I guess I would have brought up something.
Well, that just says to me, Emma, that you've not been listening to all of the podcasts and you've got an afternoon to fill by going
I do,
back.
yes.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been a hell of a lot of fun, and we will catch you all soon. Any of you guys want to say any personalised goodbyes before we go?
Well, just honestly, just honestly, as sort of a plug, on the 5th, I am going to be uploading my next episode of Reaction and Review. It's going to be a review of the recently made movie based on that god-awful Jack friggin' Chick comic, Dark Dungeons.
Ooh.
The video should prove to be fun.
Okay, look out for that one then. Richie?
No, just a shout out to our regular commenters. I enjoy reading their comments every week. It's good.
You should start replying to them as well.
I
Richie.
should do. Yes, you're right. I should do.
Yes.
I have done in the past. Not recently.
I have done in the past, but I'm not replying to all of them on my own. You can reply to one or two. Not that I'm saying I don't like replying to them. I enjoy replying to them, but it looks a bit weird.
It just sort of helps if other people, carry, their weight
carry
a little
some
bit.
of the weight, yeah.
Yeah, Richie.
Sorry.
Carry your weight.
Sorry.
I'm getting the whip out right now.
Ooh, thank God for
Answer them, boy!
Back time. See, we can make it like that without Terry. We don't need him.
Oh, I would be careful about saying that.
Especially since you have people like me and Vinny, we can totally film.
We'll have Richie saying this week, "Oh, you don't need Terry. We don't need him." And then next week there'll be me coming on being like, "So Terry isn't joining us this week or any other week because he heard what Richie said."
Oh,
and
no,
now
I
he's
quit.
heard.
I mean, we don't need him to discuss porn. Not we don't need him overall.
Moving swiftly on to Vinny.
Yeah, I just like to put a little shout out to. I've got a YouTube channel myself. Like I've only just started it up. I'm only got like less. It's like less than 100 views on each one of them, but you can check it out if you want. Mainly gaming videos, so it's called Food for Gaming Thought. You can check it out. I just talk about random stuff. Yeah, sure, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, check them out, and you can see my wacky personality if you want to see it, and just my thoughts on the gaming industry. So yeah, check it out if you want.
Also, he's on camera a lot, so if you're hearing all these disembodied voices and being like, I wonder what these guys look like, feel free to watch his videos and be disappointed by what he looks like.
This is true. The face isn't as good as the voice.
I watched the videos and I didn't hear a word you said. I was too busy staring into your eyes.
Oh man, I'm so dreamy.
I guess it honestly is just sort of like one of those cases of like face for radio. Well, that actually is kind of me. I totally know what I have.
I can relate. I can relate.
So on that,
so we're all ugly.
We're all ugly, and with that,
we are.
good night.
Bye.
Take care, guys.
Hi guys, bye bye.